Hey guys, welcome back. Now, so we're soon coming up to the 6th month mark where Bitcoin's been trapped between this 60,000 and 70,000 range. As interest in the crypto market slowly fades as we get deeper into summer, and for those still around are feeling fear from the last drop, the question is, where do we go next in the crypto market? Well, for the bulls, you could argue that this is all just one big bull flag building up energy for the next big breakout. And so in this video, as always, we'll be covering the latest price action and we'll see if this mid-cycle 2019 pattern will soon be finished. Then where are we in this big bull market and when will the next big breakout come? And then we'll finish with the biggest developments from all around the world in just the past couple of weeks. Okay, so first up, in 2019, we had a very similar pattern playing out. A massive run into a mid-cycle top, and then many months of it all just fading down. So the question is, when is this next big breakout going to come? So starting with the daily, as mentioned, I think everybody's now getting quite sick of this trading range between $60,000 and $70,000 for Bitcoin. And the comparison that's being made is that this happened already in 2019. So this is the pattern right now. What do we see? A massive run up, and then it's been fading down now coming up to 6 months. And if we look at 2019, what do we see? A very similar pattern. There was a massive run up to a mid-cycle peak and then many months of just fading back down. Now, there are a couple of differences here. One is that in 2019, this was a much bigger gain. So if we take it from the local bottom here, this was a run of over 300%. So this was an epic run. And then the run that happened most recently from the local bottom was about 200%. So although a massive run, it wasn't quite as big. So it's fair to assume that the pullback in length and severity shouldn't be as bad as well. Now, in 2019, how bad was the pullback? Well, we're not going to include what happened in COVID, as hopefully that was an anomaly, so we can take it from there. So the pullback that happened was approximately 53%. And then so far, most recently, pullback from this peak to the big Japanese carry trade flush out was 33%. So this says to me that this has a good chance of this being the bottom here. Now, as we'll discuss very soon, September is going to be probably a down month. Will it actually break below 49,000? I'm not sure. So as of right now, this potentially could have been the local bottom. And the second point is that the mid-cycle top in 2019 happened at a much earlier time. It had kind of been close to finish 6 months before the halving. We had the COVID crash, but by the time of the halving, it was pretty much mostly out of the way, where this time around, it's happened after the halving. So again, we would assume that it's going to sort itself out in a shorter time. So that's the good news. So I'd say we are close to seeing this local bottom. We now just need to have a quick chat about September. Okay, so on to seasonality, as this can be a good indicator of what may be coming next. And so far this month, we are down almost 8%. This is on Bitcoin. And Ethereum, representing the altcoins, you can see have been hit much harder, down closer to 20%. So far, August has not been good. But we're going to draw the attention to these two lines at the bottom. So this is on average what happens in each of the months, and then we have the median as well, and the median is basically just the middle value. So what does this say? Well, it says January on average and the median, it is a positive month. February mostly is a positive month. March, positive month. April, positive month. May, positive month. June, we see that it's the first negative month on average. And this year we did in fact get a down month of 7%, so this was accurate. Then July typically is a good month. August is a bit split. On average, it says it's positive, but the median is negative, 7.68. So that's almost bang on to what's happening right now. However, September, it clearly says by the average and the median that chances are it's going to be a negative month. And apart from last year, you can see a sea of red. So this is why September potentially could mark the local bottom to everything that's been going on. So this is what's on my radar. Then if we look at October, in fact, if we look at the last 3 months, so Q4, starting with October, it is arguably the biggest month for the crypto market. November being very good, and also December. So this says to me, just hunker down and get through September. No panic selling, only buying the dip if you can, because it's very likely that Q4 is going to be big. And especially if Trump gets in November, then this is going to be a month for the record books. If we look at the last halving year of 2020, we saw a negative month in September, and then look what happened. Almost a 30% jump, a 43% jump, followed by a 47% jump. So I, for one, am feeling incredibly bullish about Q4. However, the election could make a massive difference to just how big this is going to be. Next up, we have the 4-year cycle. And again, this just gives us another layer of very valuable information. So first up, we looked at the massive run that happened in 2019. So that was the massive run here, the mid-cycle top, which then had many months of fading down before going into COVID. And remember, this all happened before the halving, which is why it took almost over a year to get back to these highs. Now, we had this nice mid-cycle top just before the halving. Even though it was an epic run, it wasn't quite as big. So for me, we are now just coming back to where prices should have been. Before the epic run, all 3 cycles were about the same. So this is where it should have been. It got way overbought, and we're now coming back, like I said, to where it should be. And we're just starting to come through this clearing here. Now, if we just knock out this blue cycle, as this is the best data we have, even though it's only 2 prior cycles. So there's still a case that we should be below what happened in the prior cycle, which is why this next 30 days, as I said in my last video, is going to be critical. So this September period, I really think anything could happen. We could just go sideways. We could go sideways and get one final flush to the downside. We could go sideways and then begin getting back to overvalued territory. However, because these previous cycles went on massive runs, and in fact the last one, because of COVID and the ridiculous amount of money printing, this was a near vertical move. So even if best case scenario, we start to grow, there's still plenty of room to come back under this cycle and still be getting gains every single month. So hindsight is a wonderful thing. This clearly shows that it went too high too early, and if only we could have sold up at the actual peak, bought back in at the bottom. But this is one of the reasons why we get these big crashes and biggest runs, because there's plenty of people trying to time the top. But history has shown, and the world's greatest investors have shown, that this strategy of selling in the peaks and buying in the crashes is virtually impossible to do. So the hodler, the longer term investor that can just ride through the ups and downs, history and the data shows that this is how you make the most money. And the good news is we are at the final leg, very likely this next month potentially being not so great, but then your patience will have paid off, because Q4 and Q1 are looking to be really, really big. And then just a handful of developments for the past couple of weeks. The first one is that we did get a better inflation reading than expected. So this is great news, because it means that rates can come down and there's room for the next QE, aka money printing. So there's one more inflation reading to come out, and it's exactly 1 week before the Fed's decision. So that is the one next month that again we need a good drop in inflation, and then it's game on for rate cuts, and it gives room for the money printer. We see partnerships beginning to come back into the crypto sphere. This one, Crypto.com, becoming the official Champions League partner for football, or if you're in the US, this is soccer. But just so you know, the Champions League, which is all the teams in Europe competing in football, has a massive, massive audience. It's the #1 sport in all of Europe, so that's great to see. MetaMask recently partnered with MasterCard to develop a debit card, which is great. And it means that the users of MetaMask will be able to purchase directly from their self-custody crypto wallet. Good to see. We had the news that the world's 3rd largest pension fund, this one from South Korea, had bought into MicroStrategy. So this is great to see. Massive institutions, the pension funds are here and they're buying into digital assets. And for a pension fund, taking a leveraged Bitcoin bet through MicroStrategy is very, very interesting, as normally they are very, very low risk. So that's a very interesting move there. And then finally, hot off the press, we just saw on a popular podcast that RFK Jr.'s VP had said that they're potentially dropping out of the race and may potentially be backing Trump. So very controversial, as because this is a Democrat nominee, which will be backing a Republican. Obviously great for the Trump campaign and extremely good for crypto. After 5 long months of consolidation and reaccumulation, it does look to me that we are close to the end. The crypto market has gotten back to a more fair value range, and when we can get Redtember out of the way, I do see blue skies ahead. Seasonality did show that it's very likely a Redtember is on the cards. However, the good news is that it also says that it's very likely we're going to be getting a big Q4. And especially if Trump wins in November, then hold on to your crypto hats, as this November is going to be one for the record books. And finally, as you saw, the developments just keep coming in from all around the world, despite everything going on. So there you are, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Now, the end is in sight, so I, for one, am starting to feel bullish. However, let me know your thoughts below, but just remember, to get rid of 100% of the comment spam and trading bots that plague YouTube comments, we are trying out the new SuperThanks Commenting system. So to get your question or comment read and replied to, or just to say thanks, then use SuperThanks below. And for now, just to say, if you did enjoy anything in the video, then drop a like, and a big thank you to everyone who does, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.